Four doors lead underground. One beneath a British quarry, one behind a luxury resort, one under a Canadian field, and one inside solid granite. These places are often called military ghost cities, but the real story is stranger than the nickname. They were not abandoned towns moved below ground. They were purpose-built command centers designed to keep governments functioning after catastrophe. Our route crosses four documented sites: Burlington in Britain, Project Greek Island in the United States, the Defen Bunker in Canada, and Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado. Three were decommissioned, exposed, or converted into museums. The fourth remains active in a reduced but important role. Their different fates reveal how quickly a fortress can become obsolete. A true city grows around ordinary life. These complexes reverse that logic. Every corridor, office, dormitory, power room, and communication space existed for one purpose: preserving command when the surface became dangerous. Their populations were selected, their supplies measured, and their time underground limited. The word city describes their scale, not their freedom. The word ghost describes secrecy or later abandonment, not always their current status. Keeping those distinctions matters, because popular stories often blend real bunkers with rumor. The official records are already dramatic enough without inventing a hidden civilization beneath every locked door. Our first door lies near Corsham, where generations of quarrying had cut enormous chambers through Bathstone. During the Second World War, nearby Tunnel Quarry became part of a vast underground ammunition depot. It contained railway platforms, conveyors, workshops, a power station, and even a locomotive shed. After the war, a different section of the workings at Spring Quarry was prepared for an even darker mission: Britain's central government war headquarters. This distinction is easy to lose. The wartime depot and the later government bunker belonged to the same underground landscape, but they were not one identical facility. Completed by 1962, the government bunker passed through code names including Burlington, Turnstile, and Stockwell. Its planned population was extraordinary: 4,000 ministers, civil servants, and military staff. They were expected to remain below ground for as long as 90 days. This was continuity of government imagined at city scale. The goal was not merely to survive the first blast. Inside, officials would direct what British planners called the survival and restoration phases after an attack. Burlington, therefore, represented a chilling assumption. The state might continue issuing orders even while the country above it faced destruction beyond recognition. The number 90 changes how we picture Burlington. A shelter used for hours needs strong doors and filtered air. A headquarters used for 3 months needs work shifts, communications, power, food, water, medical support, maintenance, and rules for thousands of people who cannot simply leave. Every system becomes dependent on another. A failed pump can become as dangerous as an enemy weapon. Yet the hardest problem may have been human. For 1,000 selected survivors working inside a sealed quarry while trying to govern a devastated nation. The bunker promised administrative continuity, but could never promise that normal government life would survive with it. Burlington's weakness was not its walls. It was the clock. By 1965, changes in military technology made planners question whether leaders could travel from London to Corsham before a surprise attack arrived. Britain moved away from reliance on one giant refuge and planned 8 smaller, dispersed groups instead. The underground headquarters was still maintained through the 1980s, but its original logic had already been undermined. This is the first pattern shared by many doomsday sites. Engineering could defeat pressure, fallout, and isolation, yet still lose to shorter warning times. A perfect fortress is useless if its intended occupants cannot reach the door. Across the Atlantic, concealment took a completely different form. The Greenbrier was a famous resort in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. During the Cold War, the United States government arranged an emergency relocation center there for Congress. Its code name was Project Greek Island. Construction was connected to a new West Virginia wing, allowing a national survival facility to hide beside hotel rooms, ballrooms, and vacation routines. Guests could enjoy the resort without knowing that plans existed to transform the property during a crisis. The contrast was almost theatrical. Public luxury above, classified preparation for national disaster close behind it. Project Greek Island was meant to shelter members of the United States Congress and their staff so the legislative branch could continue operating. The arrangement went beyond opening a bunker door. In an international crisis, the larger resort was expected to support government use as well. That requirement explains why the location was valuable. An existing hotel already offered space, services, and a believable reason for constant activity. For roughly 30 years, the facility remained in readiness without performing its intended emergency mission. Its success depended on an unusual equation: hundreds of workers and visitors nearby, yet the central purpose had to remain officially invisible. A continuity bunker needs secrecy only while it remains strategically useful. Project Greek Island's secret ended in 1992 after journalist Ted Gupp publicly exposed the facility. It was then decommissioned, closing a remarkable 30-year period of readiness. Declassified material now makes the underlying plan clear. The bunker existed to protect Congress, while an agreement with the resort anticipated converting the property during a national emergency. The site never hosted lawmakers during nuclear war, and it was not a permanent underground community. Its historical power comes from the opposite fact. For decades, ordinary resort life continued beside a dormant emergency government waiting for a day that never arrived. Canada's answer began in 1959 under Prime Minister John Diefenbaker. The official name was the Central Emergency Government Headquarters, but the public remembers it as the Diefenbunker. Its construction cover name, Project Emergency Army Signals Establishment, or EASE, made the work sound less dramatic than it was. The chosen site near Carp, Ontario, lay about 30 kilometers from central Ottawa in a natural valley with suitable geology. The plan called for a protected federal command center close enough for evacuation, but far enough from the capital to improve its chances after an attack. Even before completion, however, local curiosity challenged the intended secrecy. The speed and scale of the Diefenbunker remained startling. Construction took only 18 months between 1959 and 1961. The four-level complex reached about 75 feet underground and covered roughly 100,000 square feet. Builders used 32,000 cubic yards of poured concrete and 5,000 tons of steel. It was designed to withstand the force of a 5-megaton nuclear explosion about 1.8 kilometers away, not a direct hit. That final detail corrects a common bunker myth. These structures were not indestructible. Their designers calculated a survivable distance, then built an enormous machine around the possibility of a near miss. Inside, the Diefenbunker was prepared for 535 government and military officials during a 30-day lockdown. The contrast with Burlington is revealing. Canada planned for hundreds over 1 month, while Britain's earlier vision involved thousands over 3 months. Different countries answered the same impossible questions with different numbers. Who gets inside? How long must they remain? What functions must continue while normal institutions are disrupted? The Diefenbunker became operational in 1962 and served continuously as a military communications base. It was always ready for its emergency role, but fortunately never had to shelter the Canadian government during a nuclear attack. The military base at Carp remained active until 1994. When it closed, much of its equipment and furnishings was removed, alarming historians who saw the bunker as an irreplaceable Cold War artifact. Volunteers, eventually helped preserve the site. It became Canada's Cold War Museum and a National Historic Site. That transformation changed who was allowed underground. A building once reserved for selected officials now teaches ordinary visitors how governments imagined national survival. The museum does not celebrate nuclear war planning. It preserves the physical evidence of fear, deterrence, engineering ambition, and the uncomfortable decisions hidden inside the phrase continuity of government. The final door is different because it never became a museum. At the height of the Cold War, the United States conceived a hardened command center inside Cheyenne Mountain, Colorado, to protect against long-range Soviet bombers. Groundbreaking took place in June 1961, with the Army Corps of Engineers supervising excavation and construction inside granite. Official figures convey the physical violence of the work. About 693,000 tons of stone were removed. The NORAD Combat Operations Center became operational in April 1966. Unlike a shelter waiting empty for politicians, Cheyenne Mountain was built around continuous aerospace warning and command functions. Cheyenne Mountain contains 15 buildings across approximately 5.1 acres inside the mountain. Its original construction cost was $142.4 million, a vast Cold War investment in warning and control. Calling it an underground city makes intuitive sense when separate buildings exist beneath solid rock, but remained a specialized military installation, not a civilian settlement. Its purpose was to receive information, assess threats, and support command decisions under conditions that might cripple exposed facilities. The mountains supplied mass and distance. The internal complex supplied organized workspaces. Together, they turned geology itself into part of North America's defense architecture. Cheyenne Mountain's mission changed as threats and command technology evolved. Day-to-day NORAD and US Northcom operations usually moved to Peterson Space Force Base, but the mountain did not simply become another abandoned shell. Today, it serves as an alternate joint operations center and a training site. Officially, NORAD and US Northcom use less than 30% of the floor space and represent about 5% of the daily population. That makes Cheyenne the exception in our story, quieter than at its Cold War peak, yet still active. Public tours are unavailable, and present-day classified systems remain outside what can responsibly be claimed. Place the four sites side by side, and their differences become the story. Burlington gathered 4,000 people in quarry chambers for 90 days. Greenbrier concealed a congressional refuge beside a working resort. Canada built a compact federal headquarters for 535 people and a 30-day lockdown. Cheyenne Mountain embedded specialized military command functions inside granite. None was a universal model. Each reflected geography, warning time, political structure, and a different definition of what had to survive. Their shared foundation was not concrete or steel, but uncertainty. No planner knew exactly what the world outside would look like when the sealed doors reopened. Underground headquarters age in an unusual way. Their concrete may remain strong while their strategy expires. Burlington lost relevance when warning times threatened the journey from London. Greenbrier lost secrecy and was decommissioned. The Diefenbunker's military role ended, but preservation gave the structure a public purpose. Cheyenne survived by shifting from primary daily command center to alternate operations and training. Cost matters, technology matters, and secrecy has a lifespan. Most of all, a bunker is part of a larger system. When communications, evacuation plans, or political assumptions change, even thousands of tons of protected space can become a monument to an earlier version of danger. When a secret site opens to the public, preservation is more than saving old machinery. Rooms, signs, tunnels, and empty workstations show how institutions translated nuclear fear into architecture. The Defen Bunker now lets visitors walk through a former emergency government headquarters. Greenbrier tours reveal how national planning coexisted with resort life. Historic records at Corsham document a scale that is difficult to grasp from the surface. These places also demand careful language. They should not become adventure myths detached from nuclear consequences. Their greatest value is evidence. Proof of the resources governments committed to surviving a conflict that populations above ground might not survive. So what is hidden beneath the phrase military ghost city? Not a lost civilization and not one worldwide tunnel network. It is a collection of very real attempts to preserve authority after the unthinkable. Burlington planned for restoration, Greenbrier for Congress, the Defen Bunker for Canadian leadership, and Cheyenne Mountain for Aerospace Command. 3 now reveal how Cold War plans faded, while 1 retains an active alternate role. The Ghost is the future their builders expected but never had to enter. Sealed doors, interrupted nations, and officials trying to govern from below. The structures remain because that imagined future shaped real stone, steel, money, and lives.